Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing podcast. Donn, McClean, Andrew Blair White join me, Tom Stanley. I'm at Nottingham today. Apologies if there's any background noise. There's no drunken revellers in yet. There will be later. Fear not. But looking forward to the weekend action, which is quieter because we've got Ascot on the agenda. We'll have two podcasts for you next week, incidentally. One on Monday, possibly one on Thursday as well. Keep an eye out for that as we progress throughout the week. A reminder to like, follow and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Also a reminder of Pod 50. That's the code you can use to bet 50 and get 50 quid in free bets. Well worth doing. And I'll give you a timely reminder of the £5 money back as a free bet, best bet treble later on when we put up our good things. Andrew, time to introduce you. Welcome along, ABW, the Midnight Tipper. You go by many names, but you put up winners. How are you?
Yeah, very good, Tom. Thanks for having me. It's great. Obviously, producer Dan has given me a very easy weekend to get me into the swing of things. Sprint handicaps at York, Chester handicaps, all the lot. But fingers crossed we can find a few winners to boost those Ascot coffers.
Yeah, that's the plan with Ascot on the agenda. Donn, welcome along. I'll ask you to kick off then with the 150 York. We're going to go in ITV running order, terrestrial running order. We thought that was most sensible. So kick us off with the Doug Johnson Memorial Handicap, the 150 at York. Who do you like and why?
Yeah, I like Dashing Darcy, Tom. He's not wholly original, but I just think he's a horse. He's a winner waiting to happen. He was a big price in the Lincoln on his debut this season when he was slowly away and he got hampered as well on the run inside the 2 furlong marker. So you can allow him that. And then last time at Haydock, I thought he ran really well. He was drawn out wide and stalled 14. He travelled really well into the home straight and he stayed on well. It was a race in which 4 of the first 5 home race in mid-division or better. He was the one who came from the rear. And the first 4 finished nicely clear. The other 3 horses who with him filled the first 4 places were drawn 2, 5 and 7. He was out and stalled 14. So I just thought he probably ran against a draw bias and probably a pace bias as well to get as close as he got. He was only beaten 3 parts of a length in the end by Great Chiefs, and he had Blue For You behind him. I think Blue For You comes into it. He does go really well at York. He's won there 3 times. He's finished second there twice. And he was drawn wide the last day as well at Haydock, and he was held up. He was actually last into the home straight, and he made kind of ground towards the inside rail in the home straight, but I just think it's a big ask for him to get and reverse placing with Dashing Darcy. He's only £1 higher, Dashing Darcy is, than he was last time. And yeah, I think, look, he's towards the head of the market and maybe even at the top of the market, but I think he's the right favourite and he probably should be even a little bit shorter than he is.
I'll jump in next. Sorry, as the wind gets up a little at Nottingham. Our Havana for Richard Fahey, Oshinor on board. I mean, they're going along nicely at the moment. He had a quiet time of it just for the last 6 weeks or so, Richard Fahey, but banged in a big price winner at Epsom and a place as well there at 26.0, and just winners since as well, including another one at a decent price last night and a good second as well at a half decent price. So they are very much back in form. And Our Havana, I mean, the Thirst Hunt Cup, I think, a mile is fine, but he was just a little bit keen on that occasion. Prior to that was in really good form. The majority of that over 7 furlongs, so there was a good run over a mile previously. And Shinor's riding really well at the moment. The ground is going to be exactly what he wants. I think probably 7 furlongs is right for now, to be honest. His best recent form would come over 7. And I think 92 for this 4-year-old is still within reach. 14 over the 7 isn't ideal per se, but at least you have options for there. He's going to get a clear run anyway. I prefer him drawn a little bit lower, but I thought back over 7 furlongs would have a really good chance. Our Havana. Andrew, who are you with? Putting up a third different horse in this open contest.
Yeah, definitely going for Palmer Bay myself for Rafe Beckett. William Buick takes the ride. I was just impressed the way the manner he did it at Chelmsford, and I think there's certainly a world where he should be shorter than he is in the market just at the moment. I think he's an unexposed horse when you think of him at 7 furlongs. He obviously won a couple of novice races as a 5 furlong horse, then kind of plateaued a little bit over 6 furlongs over a little bit of time, but stepping up to 7 has seen a little bit of improvement. And you know, I know it was only a race around Chelmsford and stuff like that, and obviously going from Chelmsford to York is a big step up in grade we're looking at, but he travelled through the race with an awful lot of ease. He's only gone up 3 pounds. He seems to be versatile, whether it be on the all-weather, whether it be on grass. He seems ground versatile as well when he is on the grass. So I think off a mark of 90, I'm definitely sure that he's not Donn improving over 7 furlongs off 90. And my worry with a few maybe at the top of the market was that they were better over a mile. Certainly with the likes of Blue For You never know with a horse like that for David O'Meara. He'll pop up at some stage this summer and probably at York over in one of these big races. I think it might be a little bit later on in the season, maybe over a mile.
If it was over a mile, I'd have been sticking up Blue For You, definitely. But yeah, it's 7 furlongs. We move on to the next. We're going back to Sandown for this. This is over a mile. It's a handicap over that distance. I'll come back to you again, Donn. You've got a selection here, so take it away.
Yeah, classic. He goes well at Sandown, Tom. He's run there 5 times. He's won once, finished second once. And I just thought his run at Newbury the last day in the race that My Cloud won. My Cloud is now favoured for the Hunt Cup. I thought he ran better than the bare form of the run suggests. He was out the back early on. He stayed on really well to take 4th place behind My Cloud. The horse that finished second, Boyfriend, is his own companion and his stable companion, and he came out next time at Nottingham and won off £3 higher mark. Classic has actually been dropped a pound down to a mark of 87. So I just think back at Sandown over a mile at his optimum trip. If they go fast, like he does like to run at a fast pace, and it's a big enough field in order to suggest that there should be a good pace on. So I can see him travelling well and then being delivered late. Ryan Moore, obviously, he's a massive asset as well. So yeah, I think he can go well.
The horse I like has got form with Classic. That came from the Newbury race prior, where EBT's Guard won. I quite like that as a bit of form. I like what EBT's Guard did there. For he absolutely loves Newbury. I take the point on that occasion. Classic was off it and did best of those from off the pace. But my selection, I thought, ran Jack Shannon's horse really well, Urban Lion, and then has been off since. And I guess that's what's caught my eye really. Obviously, it's a little while. He's been off since mid-April, but it was a race full of promise. He proved himself on turf. Predominantly his goes prior to that have been either on the all-weather or on heavier ground, but he proved himself on a sound surface. And I just wonder if the little absence, 63 days off the track, is just mean that he's not as well found in the market. I thought it was a really good run. He's completely unexposed on this sort of ground over this distance on turf. And the yard are going along quite nicely now as well. They seem to be hitting their stride. So I thought there was plenty in favour for Urban Lion, but on a line through Urban Lion, I could have easily put up Classic as well. Nothing for you, Andrew, no? Kicking on?
No, I see the case for Classic that Donn makes. Probably more just a price point thing for me. I think he's relatively short for a very competitive handicap like this, but the form is there to see.
Yeah, grand. Look, we only want selections being put up with conviction, so that's fine. The Queen Mother's Cup is up next. This is the 225. I'll kick us off. I thought Donn, you might go this way as well with Magalak in the 225 because of the booking of Jodie Townend. I thought that was a very interesting. I think the distance will be absolutely spot on. It was last time when he ran really well. Obviously, it's got form over a little bit further over hurdles, but it was mainly the jockey booking that caught my eye for a pretty shrewd operator in Adrian Paul Keatley. Quick surface, sound surface at York is exactly what the horse had last time. That race was won by Great Bedouin, who was a nicely progressive horse and a strong stare at the distance as well. And Magalak did very much best of those up with the pace. I thought a repeat of that run meant that he'd go and win. But you're looking elsewhere, Dom.
Yeah, it was a marginal call for me, Tom, actually. And you're absolutely right. Jodie Townend, very, very significant book. And Adrian Keatley, he's a classic winning trainer. He trained Jet Setting to win the Irish 1,000 Guineas here. And he's doing really well in Britain now as well. But I just thought Born Ruler was more solid. I thought his run the last day in the Zetland Gold Cup was a good run. He was out the back early on. The winner made all the running. And the first two were prominent as well, and the third was in mid-division. He came from the back. He stayed on really well. That was over 10 furlongs. He's up to 1.5 miles now. He's only run over 1.5 miles once before. That was at Lingfield in May last year on his debut on a seasonal return when he finished second behind Party Island. So I think the way that he raced the last day, I think the step back up to 1.5 miles is a positive for him. He didn't wear cheek pieces the last day. He's got them on again. So I think that's a positive for him as well. Gina Andrews, obviously high class booking too. So yeah, I think I can see the case for Magalak for sure, and he goes well at York as well. But I just prefer Born Ruler.
All right, moving on to the Scurry. Like this race, often won by a nice horse. It has been in the past anyway, but I couldn't figure it out. Loads of fillies were entered in this. Andrew, come straight over to you. You like Hold a Dream?
I do, yeah. I think probably a few people will maybe look at Clive Cox over the last couple of weeks. He hasn't had a winner in the last 14 days, but he had a fair few horses run very nicely at Salisbury the other day. So don't have any real qualms about stable form. And this filly is just a very consistent, hardy filly. I think maybe dropping down to a stiff 5 furlongs will suit. She's been doing an awful lot of her running over 6. Thus far, including when finishing ahead of Star of Memas 2 starts ago at Chelmsford, when only just getting denied a neck by Lady with the Lamp, who's obviously done very well for Joseph O'Brien. Another successful raid for him over to England. It was 5th last time behind Symbol of Honour, and I think probably that run has prompted them to maybe try this 5 furlongs. And I just think you've got plenty of pace in this race. Coto de Casa, very, very fast filly. I'd be concerned if you kind of knew what kind of form and I suppose what fitness she's going to come into the race in. You'd be concerned with a filly like her because she showed some very good form last year. I'd be on the side of thinking she might need things here, and maybe a stiff 5 furlongs wouldn't see her to best effect. As for, I think Hold a Dream will be staying on very well. And as long as she can kind of keep that position in the midway part of the race, which is where it kind of hots up at Sandown, she'll certainly be going up that hill very quickly.
Donn, who do you like?
Yeah, I think Town and Country is an interesting entry, an interesting declaration here, Tom. She's a really nice filly of Henry de Bromhead's. Colin Keane takes the ride on her, so lots of positives there. Henry's flat horses have been going pretty well as his jumpers recently. And Town and Country, she finished second behind Bodie Bear on her penultimate run, her return this season, and Bodie Bear then went on and ran well enough against Babouche next time. But then that last run at Cork was a really good run. She was back in the field. She came towards the near side and stayed on really well, just failed by a head to catch First Instinct of William Haggis's. And First Instinct then went and finished third behind Symbol of Honour in the Sandy Lane Stakes. So the race that Andrew was talking about was the Carnarvon Stakes, Symbol of Honour. Then went on and won the Sandy Lane. And I thought First Instinct added ballast to the Cork run of Town and Country by going and running really well in the Sandy Lane. Town and Country just had 5 runs. She just seems to be a progressive filly. It was 5.5 furlongs at Cork the last day. So I think Sandown's stiff 5 would suit her well. She's a filly who likes to finish off her races, and as she did at Cork the last day. And I think that suits Sandown as well. She's drawn in stall 4. Like, it's not the case at Sandown anymore that you absolutely have to be over towards the far rail. I think a high draw is not as big a negative as it was. She's got a nice draw in stall 4. You can see Colin Keane just kind of hopefully sitting in behind the pace and then delivering her well, as Andrew mentioned. That's the finish at Sandown. That should be a big positive for her, I think.
Okay, that's the Scurry done. Yeah, I like Coto de Casa. I think great, but you never know what's going on in her head, and I think she might be a watching brief for me here. I think she's super talented. The Grand Cup is up next. I am very confused by Absurd lining up here. I thought they might take a Gold Cup or something, given that's opened up a bit. But anyway, obviously en route to an Ebor. For me, I wanted to take on. I think Donn does too as well with Alsaka. We'll come to that. But El Cordobés is a horse who I think is underestimated. I know this is Steve Jones will give out. This is part of my good off in blue. Charlie Appleby loving, but there you go. What are you going to do? I thought he shaped like a proper stare in Dubai a few times. I think that's the sort of test he wants. They rode forward over the 1.5 miles last time, like a stare. I think different tactics over this distance is going to be what he wants. And I just thought he was underestimated. On official ratings, there's very little between he and Absurd, but that's more the sort of talking, sexy horse. So I'm with El Cordobés, Donn.
Yeah, interesting as well. I saw Danny Tudhope jocked up and Absurd during the week, and I kind of thought exactly like you, Tom. I thought he was going to Ascot, and who knows, he may still go. He may still go to Ascot. He has a couple of options at Ascot, including the Gold Cup. So look, you can see why he's favourite, but I'm happy to take him on. Al Karim, you know he's going to run his race. He goes well at York as well. He likes to get out there in front. El Cordobés led the last day, but I don't think he's really a challenger for him for the lead. I'm sure William Buick will be happy to take a lead from Al Karim, but I just think Al Saqib is a better horse. Like, you have to admire Al Karim, but I just think Al Saqib He beat Al Karim in the Silver Cup last year over this trip, a mile and 6. And I think a mile and 6, while Al Karim stays well, a mile and a half might be an even better trip from Al Sakib. He stays really well. He gets further than this. He gets 2 miles. And I thought he ran well on the seasonal return last time. He was a big price in the Yorkshire Cup. He was only 4th of 5, but he was still only beaten a length and a half by Rebels Romance. And that was a big run. I think he can come forward from that. He goes well at York as well. We know that. And yeah, I think Absurd might be vulnerable, and I think Al Sakib could be the one to exploit any weaknesses in it.
Agree with Absurd. Probably going bolt up now. There we are. Just you, ABW, in the 7.5 furlong handicap at Chester with Miami Matrix. Why?
Yeah, I didn't think this horse has a chance of bouncing back. Was a little bit disappointing at the May Festival at Chester, but luckily enough with work, we went to Hugo Palmer's yard around a week before Chester, and they seem to be very keen on this horse going into that. So I'd say that was a little bit disappointing. He got dropped a pound for that effort. A lot of his maiden form looks pretty solid. I think he's off a mark of 78. He's got £3 coming off him as well, with Aidan Brooks taking on. He's got stall 2, which, as much as I feel this year, thus far at Chester, it hasn't felt as needed to be, forward as maybe we've seen in previous years. It's been an awful lot of pace collapses in the races that I've been watching, but I still think that draw, especially over 7.5 furlongs, is very, very key. And you do have fancied horses that are drawn out a lot wider. So him in 2, you'd like to hope he'll get a decent enough pitch. And I think if you were looking past that run in May, which was run in a pretty decent race with plenty of improving types, you'd make a case that this horse can bounce back. And he's a little bit overpriced for what I believe he should be.
All right, that's Chester. Just the one there. We've got a really open sprint handicap at York. I love these races. I do think you probably want to be low as well. That tends to be the way I play it. I'm going to go for 2 horses, 1 in 2 and 4. Markogian is one of those. That's the main play for me, who's on about 7.0. I thought the win at Newmarket was good. Yes, up with the pace, and that's where you tend to want to be there. But I think based upon the track will really suit. He's pretty unexposed on the turf as well. And I just loved his running style for the track. So I think I definitely him on side. And the other one is Loom. This is becoming a cliff horse for me. Put the horse up 2 starts ago at 17.0 when running really well. Last time was a blowout run. I just thought he's looking like a 6 furlong horse. So he steps up in trip, but they go to help settle. I've mentioned the yard being back on song. I've got a feeling over 6 they'll just let him go. I know they've got the hood on, but I think they will. I don't think he wants fighting. And I think that's what they were doing over 5. And I think, hood on, he'll set a little bit better. Just let him get into a rhythm. I still think there's this sort of mark, definitely off a mark of 93. So Loom, that'll be my biggest price selection on the day. Donn.
Yeah, I think Double Rush could be a really well handicapped horse, Tom. Surprised he only got £5 for his win the last day at Newmarket. He travelled really well. And on his seasonal return, he won at Wolverhampton. He was really well back that day into odds on. He made pretty much all the running. He won really easily. And then he went to Newmarket off a mark of 85. And he won impressively. He travelled well. Jason Watson rode him that day, brought him towards the near side, and he picked up well. He won by just over a length going away, probably with more in hand than that. The 3rd horse from that race, Invictus Gold, who was entered in this race but hasn't been declared, he won next time. He's now £11 higher than he was then. The 4th horse, Gallant, won at Lingfield there on Thursday. He's now £5 higher than he was then. Double Rush is only £5 higher. I think there's much, much more to come from him. He's got the potential to be way better than a 90 rated horse. He's only had 5 runs. He's only had 2 runs this season. He's won both of them. So look, you mentioned the draw earlier on, and I'm with you on that. He's drawn at stall 20. So that's not ideal, but I was committed to him before the draw came out. So, but I still think, hopefully he's well enough handicapped to get away with that. And as we saw with American Affair, you can, from a high draw, you can kind of move over towards the end or towards the middle and finish off towards the centre to far side. So I just think he's got so much else in his favour. He may be able to overcome the high draw.
Yeah, you can win from anywhere, can't you? It's just low. I think there's a gathering weight that might be where you want to be. But look, you can definitely high as well. So it's very possible. It can be factored into the price as well. So maybe no bad thing. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, I quite like Diligently here for Clive Cox and Safi Osborne. I've gone straight in the middle. I think he's drawn 12, so I'm hedging my bets in from a draw perspective. I just can't understand why this horse is the price he is. Very big price. Off a mark of 86. He won the big sales race at York last year at the Ebor Festival. He was always very kind of highly tried as an early 2-year-old last year. I think they were perhaps a little bit disappointed with him, but probably felt there was a big race in him in that respect. He travelled very, very sweetly that day in a similarly big field race, 20 runners, and quickened up nicely to win. His second on reappearance at Chester behind Hammer the Hammer. And I understand, I completely agree with Donn when it comes to a horse like Double Rush, could have more in hand, could end up being a group race sprinter. But Hammer the Hammer certainly is a group race sprinter in my eyes. He's got given £12 for that at Chester, so he's up to a mark of 100 now. That was a perfectly satisfactory reappearance run. Get the impression, just looking at the balance of Diligently's form, that he's maybe better on a straight track rather than a bend, as you'd have seen at Chester. So I think of 86, drawn in the middle, hopefully be able to sit and stalk early pace, and he'll be coming home quickly. As I say, you know, you'd look at things with Clive Cox's form on the balance of things. You look at it and it's 0 from 22 or something, as I mentioned earlier. But I think the horses have been running an awful lot better than that form would suggest. So I'm very much prepared to take a leap of faith that Clive Cox will have a double on Saturday.
Yes, so for you. Now, we did say between us that if you don't put something up at Downpatrick, you're never coming back. So any other bets you've delivered?
I did.
Take it away.
Unfortunately, sign of the times that we're putting up a couple of bets at Downpatrick, but two I actually really quite fancy in the 2:15. No Meets horse Mickey Cohen off a mark of 102. Neil Ryan takes the ride as he has done the last twice. I thought he was very eye-catching on his first handicap run at Down Royal over 2.5 miles. Wasn't really put into the race for large parts, ended up coming third behind Circus Act, then went up to 3 miles at Wexford, clearly didn't stay. He's been dropped a couple of pounds for that effort, which I always think is a little bit lenient when you've got a horse that clearly didn't stay the trip. He goes back down to 2 mile 2, but as we know at Downpatrick, it's a staying track, very, very stiff finish, which will play into his hands because I think he'll be a very strong stayer over this trip. And I certainly think there is a low grade handicap in him off this type of mark. And then in the 4:35, probably a little bit more obvious in the case of General Hubble, a horse that won a few races last year, won a big ladies race under Tony Quayle as well, and was eye-catching enough, I thought, when fifth last week behind Prince Altar, Western Model, an awful lot of horses that will be winning races in this type of grade, off a mark of 97. He's got Kevin Sexton enlisted, who at the moment with these kind of limited rider races or restricted rider races in Ireland is as good a jockey as you're going to get in these types of races. And I think 2 mile 7, good ground. I know he disappointed at Downpatrick a month ago. I don't think that was any way track related. I think that was just him needing his first run back after a little bit of a wait. And I'd say this is the time to potentially catch him. He's the type of horse that might win a couple of races this summer, and I'm hoping that starts on Saturday in the 4:35.
You have delivered. I'm looking forward to both of those at Downpatrick. Right, Matchbook Zero, long shot time goes live an hour before each race. Does Matchbook Zero, you're most likely to get best odds because there is zero margin, zero commission. Mine is Loom in the sprint. My Cliff horse, slowly developing into that anyway, around about 17.0. Donn, you got one?
No, I couldn't come up with one, Tom. I couldn't fancy a long enough shot to put into the Matchbook long shot, so I'm afraid I have to pass on that one.
Listen, good things only. That's fine. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm taking you on in the 3:30 or 3:35 at York with Diligently. Similar price, I think, and I think he's got a very, very good chance of outrunning those odds.
All right, best bet time. Now, I have told you in recent times that the £5 money back as a best bet treble is available for any selections, but it's not. It's only our selections, so you've got to follow us. So that's probably good news, I think. It's for new and existing customers. You £5 treble on these selections. If it doesn't cop, then you get your money back. So it's a risk-free treble. Mine is Maglac in the Queen's Cup. Donn?
Yeah, Double Rush in the Macmillan Sprint.
And Andrew?
General Hubble at Downpatrick.
And well done if you followed Michael DC in his best bet last week. We were trying to say, it's your best bet, mate. Don't put up a 21.0 shot. It went off even bigger, incidentally, 29.0. And it went and won as well. So he was in flying form. Although he did tip up the line and win in the derby, so came crashing back down to earth. But well done to him, and well done to those of you that followed him in as well. Keep an eye out for 2 podcasts next week. Will be on Monday. We will confirm a time for you on social media. It'll be a few hours, I would say, after Dex. Build to one of the best flat weeks of the year in Royal Ascot. Andrew, thank you. Don, thank you. Everyone, have a good weekend.